What's going on, guys?
Well,
What you been up to? Huh?
I've got a boot on my foot.
Got a boot in your
20
foot.
pounds. I got a boot on my foot.
On your foot. Okay.
And reworking Noob. That's really the biggest thing that we've been doing.
Okay.
Paper targets. Rewritten all the challenges.
All of them.
And now we're working on filming challenge demonstration videos, which is just challenge demonstration. No shenanigans, no bullshit, no nothing.
So all the dry parts of your video. Got it.
Yes. And then relaunch Noob. The second channel that's focused solely on Noob and the demonstration videos and all that. Then once we have all that stuff done, then we're going to try and possibly get on the road and go see some people and play Noob.
Sweet. You making a stop up here, right?
We'll have to see where the road takes us. Eventually, yes. We would like to.
Okay. When you guys come up, we're going to do two things. I'm going to have you here on person, and then we're also going to go hit the range.
Yeah.
Oh, you down?
That'd be dope. I'd be down for both, yeah. How far does TAC live from you?
4.5 hours, yeah, roughly. We'll make it a thing. We'll line it up with him.
That'd be fun, though. Get there on the show live and then get out on the range.
Yeah, hell yeah. I'll see if I can hit up the farm owner up here and we can use his land instead of going to the state lands.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And we'll have everything with us to play Noob.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And because there are a bunch of paper targets, it's a lot easier to carry them.
Yeah, it doesn't weigh as much.
Yo.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really smart on you guys to start going paper targets too. I was glad when you guys came out and said you're doing that. It's easier for people to acquire too.
You can't say it was smart on you guys. This is all Baker's brain baby. And I was originally against it. I was like, what? Paper targets is nowhere near as much fun as steel targets. You're retarded. And then he sat me down and
Explained it
explained it to me.
like you were 3.
Yeah.
Although
Now, Johnny, this is why we're doing this.
Still is a lot of fun, no doubt about it, but
Yeah.
it just makes it more accessible for more people, I think.
Exactly. You opened up that training to a wider audience.
Exactly. And then even indoor ranges, they won't be able to do all of the challenges. There's certain challenges that we're going to have to pull out of rotation for indoor ranges, but anything that is static, things like that can be done on an indoor range. And so then we're going to also start advertising to them and go from there. But hopefully...
Now, what you should do, Baker, since we are on a podcast, why don't you give a description of what Noob is?
I was just about to tell him to do that, actually.
So Noob is a fun and exhilarating range game, similar to the basketball game of horse, but this is
You do that, I'm going to go pee.
Okay.
Or rifle, or anything. Mimic style game that focuses on almost all of the basic and other shooting fundamentals to include unconventional shooting techniques and reloads and corrective malfunctions and all that stuff. Most challenges have a time limit. Most challenges have at least one distance or multiple distances. But every challenge focuses on a minimum of one basic shooting fundamental. Some challenges combine a bunch of different shooting fundamentals. Some challenges are easy, some are medium, some are difficult. We have a lot of different, what we call modifications of a challenge.
Right.
Where in basic premise of the challenge, but then it changes either one or multiple parts of the original elements, maybe time, distance, round count, target, orientation, things like that. And it makes it more difficult. But with this new rewrite, we'll probably have anywhere between 150 to 160 different challenges available.
Dang. So definitely no shortage on them being able to play a game.
Yeah, this is definitely something where Even if you play it with just, 2 people, and the first person who spells noob NOB loses the game once they fail enough challenges. So even if you play it with just 2 people, you can play it over and over and over again and get different outcomes each time because of the amount of challenges.
Right. Since it's only 4 letters at that point, you have a greater amount of variations of the game you can play if they pick different challenges each time, or one and the difference.
And then if you fail the challenge, so the person who picks the challenge has to successfully complete the challenge in order for the other players to have to do that same challenge. If the person who picked the challenge, competitor, if they fail their challenge, that challenge goes back into rotation to be used again. So then if another player knows, oh, this person had a difficult time doing it, they're trying to pick a challenge, they might pick that one and then eventually cause you to get a letter. Or if the competitor, the person who picked the challenge, is successful with that challenge, then everybody else that's playing has to do that challenge. If one of the challengers fails that challenge, then that challenge goes back into rotation again. And then that challenger gets a one-shot redemption at the 40-yard line on a 10-inch, 10 or 8-inch, I don't remember. I think it's 10-inch circular target. And if they miss that, then they get a letter. If they hit that target with that one round, they do not get a letter. So
now that redemption shot, is that just a regular shot, or is that one where they have to do the same type of challenge, laying down, kneeling, covered sights?
For pistols, it's just a standing, supported, untimed shot at the 40-yard line.
Okay.
If you were doing rifle or PCC, and we have redemption cards, there's 7 of them, and they would pick one card at random, and then that card would tell them specific instructions on what they have to do to get that shot, whether it's a prone unsupported, a standing unsupported, correcting malfunction while you engage 2 targets, or reload while you engage 2 targets from the 50-yard line. But those challenges we haven't even started the rewrite on those. We've just been focused on the pistol right now. So once everything's done with the pistol, then we'll start the rewrite on the PCC. But one thing that we're doing different with this, because the way these challenges are worded, just to make it very copy and paste, task condition standards, everything is pretty much answered in the description of that challenge. There's not a lot of wiggle room of, oh, well, maybe I can do this or maybe I can do that. It's pretty black and white. But because of all that verbiage that's in there, some challenges can be very difficult to visualize and comprehend just by reading them.
Okay.
And so that's why we're doing these challenge demonstration videos. And then on each challenge sheet, we're going to have a scannable QR code that you scan that with your phone, and that'll take you directly to that specific challenge demonstration video. And so if you have any questions, you can just watch it in video format. Oh, okay, well, now it makes sense. And then do the challenge. Because a pain in the butt, because now we have to do individual QR codes for each one, but in the long run, it's going to make things easier for people.
Yeah, you only have to do it once.
Yeah. Otherwise, if we didn't do that, then they would have to find the channel on YouTube. Then they would have to find that specific challenge on the YouTube channel. And then especially once we carry over into PCCs and rifles, and we have the same challenge name for each weapon system, it's just going to get even more confusing. So having a direct challenge they can go to will make things simpler.
It's more like you're applying the Dewey Decimal System to your training.
Yes. Yeah. And then another, there's actually quite a few changes that we've done in this rewrite, but another one is we developed a skill badge that goes on each challenge. And these skill badge levels are easy, medium, and difficult. So you can tell without even having to read a challenge. You look right at the challenge, and it says either easy, medium, or difficult. So you know right away what type of challenge this is, just based on skill level.
What are your premises and your guidelines for classifying one of those challenges, easy, medium, or difficult?
How much?
A lot of it has to. Yeah. A lot of it has to do with yard line distance, and then just simplicity of challenges. So let's say we have a challenge that has 3 modifications total to it.
Okay.
There's a very good chance that, like the hurry up challenge, we'll take that one for instance, which focuses on combat reloads at 5-yard line. Is that one I think it's 9 seconds is the time limit to do 3 reloads and then
I think it's
get
8 seconds.
6 hits on targets. Yeah, maybe it's 8. I don't remember. But that one is classified as easy. Then the
Okay.
medium would be pretty much the same thing, but then on the 5 individual targets, so we have a 4-inch, a 6-inch, a 8-inch, a 10-inch, and then we have a silhouette that's roughly 12 by 18.
23.
12 by 43?
No, 23 maybe.
Okay. Like it's a tall.
Right.
And so then that one's medium, and then the difficult would be same thing, different time. Let's say 16 seconds. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But you do everything from the 25-yard line on the silhouette target. And you have maybe 18 seconds to do 3 reloads and then get 6 hits from the 25-yard line. That would be the difficult one. So the skill level changes based on several different variables. And then we have some challenges that there's no easy, there's no medium, it's just difficult. So, but that's a very quick glance where the players can just look at it and determine whether they want to do a challenge that's easy, medium, or difficult. And then another change that we made in this rewrite is on the very top objective line is a very brief statement that gives you the elements of the challenge so that you know what it is without having to read through the whole thing. So for instance, it might say static, single position, single target, combat reload drill. And so now you know, based on the skill level badge, okay, this is easy. This is a very brief, basic breakdown of what this challenge is. And then you can make that determination if you want to even do that or flip past without having to read the entire challenge to figure out what it is, see how difficult it is. And then we also came up with almost like a table of contents, which has every challenge listed on it, all the modifications, everything. And then the challenge will give a brief description of what that challenge is. And then any modifications underneath it are listed. So mod 2, mod 3, mod 4. And then it tells you what that modification adds to that challenge. Maybe, you know, it increases time, increases distance, includes or adds combat reload. So now you're able to just kind of tell what all these different modifications do, again, without having to read each challenge. And you could almost theoretically pick a challenge just off that table of contents, see what it is. Oh, I want to do this one. And then turn to the challenge and then read the entire sheet from there. And then, so we've provided more options for people to have more information to pick a challenge.
Any minute faster for them to get there.
Before you ask, none of the options that we have made changes for involve shooting with no pants on. So you're gonna have to keep your pants on the entire time. I know.
But that's a good challenge, though. I mean, how many times? Well, I mean, but how many times we all, you know, the whole train like you fight kind of thing. How many times you've been sitting on the toilet in a public restroom, okay, and you're worried about that person coming in as a mass, you know what, and you got to take care of business. You going to take the time to pull your britches up first, or if they're in that bathroom, are you going to take care of business? And I don't mean finish going to the potty.
I may not have. I may have just ran in there to drop a stink pickle and chaos ensues.
Exactly.
Usually,
you know, I mean,
ensues because of the stink pickle. This time is different.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You kind of got to think about that too. Like you got to have a challenge where your pants are around your ankles. I didn't say to pull down their underwear too, but you know, pants around the ankles. I mean, come on, we've all been there. You know, you stand up, you almost trip on your shoelaces while you're stressed out trying to figure out the situation. You know?
Maybe
no, just me. Okay.
What's going on in that bathroom stall?
Yeah, I mean, you hear noises in the stall next to you. Sounds like somebody's dying. Yeah, well.
Yeah. So you know, we did add one of the new challenges we added includes tourniquet application. So we could look at like a stink pickle challenge at some point.
Yeah. Instead of a tourniquet, you're applying packing in a tampon in a place to prevent you so that you can so you can finish later on.
Oh, I thought you were going MacGyver first aid on us over here. Stick the tampon in the bullet hole.
No. In this scenario,
Like put a thumb in it, you know?
You put the tampon in so that you can finish your secondary business later on.
Ah,
So allow you to get out there, engage and fight.
Yeah.
So it's still your MacGyver thing, but it's MacGyver plug.
Right.
Yeah.
So that way, whenever you're done, you have the added satisfaction of having that come out with like a pull string.
And just a ripcord.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
Like
pull
you're
string.
starting a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. We've got some exciting news. Mark your calendars because we're going live on YouTube this Memorial Day. On Monday, May 26th, we will be streaming live on our YouTube channel starting at 0900 Eastern Standard Time. Join us for a special Memorial Day brought to you by our biggest sponsor, American Legion Post 548. We'll be honoring the day, connecting with you, our amazing community, and celebrating together. Whether you're at a barbecue, on a road trip, or just hanging out at home, we want to see you there. Head over to our YouTube channel at the Foxhole Files and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss it. Make sure you turn on the notifications so you get a reminder when we actually go live. We can't wait to hang out with you, answer all your questions, and maybe drop a few surprises. So grab your favorite drink, invite your friends, and let's make this Memorial Day unforgettable. See you there. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys are rewriting that because it's going to make it a lot easier for a lot of people. Honestly, truly, it will. Like I love the old game, you know, guys. I like the old game, but that with the paper targets, it's going to make it cheaper, which is going to make it easier for more people to play it. With you guys putting the QR codes down for them to be able to find it faster whenever they scan that, that's going to make things easier. And that table of contents to get right to the page they need.
Yeah.
And I like the skill level thing. That's a good thing for beginners because some people try to jump. Oh, this sounds like a fun challenge. Oh, this was a lot freaking harder than I thought it was.
Every single person that has shot our challenges, whenever they initially, after they are done shooting it, every single person without a fail has gone, that's a lot more difficult than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I played them.
One challenge specifically that seems to get a lot of people, and it's called the Crumbles Challenge.
Oh, okay, that too.
Which one?
This one crumbles, but you take your semi-automatic pistol, you break it down just to a basic field strip, and you set it on the ground or on a mat or whatever the case may be. And then you have a magazine, and I think 6 live rounds, but those live rounds are loose. And on the beat, you have to reassemble your pistol, fill the magazine, load, come to a standing position, and then engage the peak silhouette target with 6 rounds. And I think the time limit is 32 seconds, 32 or 35 seconds, something like that.
I think it
sounds super simple.
Sounds.
And a lot of people underestimate that because then you put that time crunch on them, and you know how it is.
You're adding that stress.
Everything seems like it's going longer than it really is. So it might be 10 seconds in the real world, but it seems like you're already there for a minute. Without fail, people go to slide onto the frame, and they miss. And then they have to take it all apart, and then it just goes downhill.
So note to self, when I play that one, I need to wear gloves so that way I don't slice my hand open with the slide.
Yeah. Even if they manage to get it all back together and they still have time left, then they start pulling shots because they're worried about the time, and they sacrifice speed for accuracy. And so that's the good thing with almost all these challenges is they're very easy to overestimate, or to become confident, like, oh, I got this, and then one small mistake
derails your entire thought process.
Yeah. And then with the paper targets, we have the all-in-one backer that has the 5 individual targets on it, but then we also have a modification version of that, which is 3 target backers, and then on one backer is just the silhouette, and then another backer is the 10-inch and the 4-inch target, and then another backer is the 6-inch and the 8-inch. And so then you can put them on different target stands and spread them out even more, which then causes the shooter's motion to become more difficult to go from target to target.
Right.
So it just makes that even more complicated. And that particular setup gives you a longer lifespan of running those targets, getting
Right.
hits and hits and hits and hits. So we actually have 2 target options available for this.
Cool. Well, one question for you, and I already know, but it's for everybody else that's going to be watching this. Who are you, and why do you have the input that you have on this? Why should they trust you guys on the shooting game?
So, my background is military law enforcement, and I'll let Kennedy say his thing, and then overseas work. But where this all started, Kennedy and I did law enforcement together. We trained together in law enforcement, things like that. And then one day we were just on the range, really playing horse, and that's how all of this got started. And one of the big motivations for this was training. Training is a great thing, without a doubt, very beneficial. But training can be very repetitive, can be very boring, and we've done, the training in the military, but then also training in terms of Kennedy and I's work relationship, training in law enforcement, SWAT team, things like that. And you just do a lot of the check the box type training, which is still good, but it can get boring. And then after a while, guys they're not dialed anymore. Now we're just shooting to shoot. We're just trying to get the day done.
You're just barely worrying about qualifying. You're not worried about hitting that expert every time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not to mention, whenever people get really bored with the particular qualification that they're doing, it's easy for other people to not pay attention, so that the person scoring things can make sure that their buddy has a good enough score.
Right.
Whenever you're doing a challenge and you're working against other people, it's a lot harder to really pencil whip those targets, and a whole lot more people are going to be held accountable.
Yeah. And also with a lot of that training too, is it's very, very broad training. Okay, we're going to focus on everything today. And then you do all this training, whereas with these challenges, it breaks them down into smaller elements. And so if you have an issue with reloads, you discover that based on these challenges, because these challenges focus on reloads. It might focus on moving and reloading and things like that, but it's easier to identify the smaller basic mistakes that are made using these challenges versus just your big broad training events, or even there's a lot of different shooting drills out there, the Bill drill, Mozambique, all these different things. These challenges, like I mentioned earlier, with 150 160 of them, there's a lot to do that covers a lot of different bases. And so it can be difficult to get bored with these challenges. And then more importantly, if you do them as a team or as, buddies or whoever, other people might give you crap for messing up the challenge. So it adds in that camaraderie, that competitiveness, and it just makes training more fun. It's very effective and it's fun at the same time.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kennedy. I was supposed to give you my bio 5 minutes ago, but Baker decided to do one more sales pitch. So I was also
that reminds me.
I was also law enforcement, private security, firearms instructor, and now a certified boot wearer.
Well, I mean, stop trying to balance on one foot.
I was hoping to see how long we could all stay really still, so that whenever people watch this later on, they go, "Was my shit froze?"
Your stream froze randomly in the middle right there. I don't know what that's about.
I live in the country, so that's messed up. You can't do that to people.
Well, I mean, to be fair, yours roboted just a minute ago, so.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Elon must have said, "Shut up." You know what I'm talking about.
Hey, how's that Starlink doing?
Dude, it is surprisingly legit. So before this, we had HughesNet, which, not to talk trash about HughesNet, but that is dog shit.
Hot dog water.
And yeah, and we were always conveniently over our data package. Couldn't do anything. Starlink, we got the Starlink when it was still like beta version in our area, and it worked really well. Now, storms, it might drop off here and there, but for the most part, the internet's still up and going. We can play video games. At one point, Kennedy brought his TV over into the gun room, and he and I were both on Battlefield 4 gaming, and then we had some video streaming. And it kept going, not a problem.
It's legit.
Sweet.
Been very pleased.
You could
'Cause we have,
live stream all the way out on the range.
Yeah. Well, that's why I have what I have. T-Mobile is who I run the internet for here at the post. And they have the internet box.
Hotspot.
No, it's actually a wall plug-in unit like this. It's a the home internet one.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be at the home. Anywhere there's an outlet, it works.
Yeah.
It's Starlink for T-Mobile. Well, I actually got a message on my phone last week that T-Mobile and Starlink are teaming up. So, yeah. So they're actually going to be offering Starlink internet for their T-Mobile home.
Interesting.
So I was asking because it's going to end up switching over to Starlink.
So after HughesNet, well, actually we still had HughesNet, but before we got Starlink, we tried the T-Mobile home internet, but at that time it was a smaller like flat box, not the new one that they have.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think it was the first gen home internet that they had, and it worked. But unfortunately, where we are, cell service is straight trash. So it is what it is. Now I run T-Mobile. My wife and I run T-Mobile. Really for the main reason because overseas you get unlimited text and data in almost every country. So almost every country I've been to, with the exception of I think Sudan, Mauritania, and maybe a few other places.
Name drop.
There was no coverage.
It's okay. I can always edit that out if we need to. We're not live.
So,
You'll have to call up
T-Mobile.
Hegseth and see what his contract allows.
It's all right.
Just call up Vance, and we'll just call Vance later this week and see if it's all good that he says that stuff. It's no big deal, you know?
Hey, specialists do what specialists do best. Right there.
Yeah.
You want to go that way with it.
I don't know. I've always found that to be so weird. Both branches call it something else entirely, but they both have that I'm a non-commissioned officer, but I'm not a non-commissioned officer role.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like, we trust you with responsibility, but you're not in charge of people. Shut up.
Yeah.
All it is it's a scapegoat for the team lead. Oh no, I told the junior NCO, and he dropped the ball. So that's all that is.
Not to mention,
I know.
If you don't have like a college degree or some amount of college credits, you're not going in as an E4. You're going in as an E2, maybe an E3. So 6 months in, you're already fed up enough with the other privates where you could literally be an NCO just based on your demeanor and your aggravation level that stays at a constant 90% of sick of everyone's bullshit.
Try being one of the oldest people in your basic training class.
I was 23 years old whenever I was in BCT.
Yeah, I had my first kid already. Actually, I had my second kid already. She was a baby.
Basic?
Yeah. Yeah, I was one of those.
But yeah, I didn't come out of basic with any rank. I was lucky that I came out of basic with
At all.
the nameplate. There was no rank. And then even when I was active duty, I enjoyed several ranks multiple times. I would just go right back.
Well, it's that Art really 15 party, man. You gotta stop throwing those Art 15 parties.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say? One Article 15 usually leads to another, so.
True. Just like herpes.
Yeah.
That usually catches you in Article 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain juxtaposition of herpes and Article 15s.
Yeah, it's like that golden ratio.
Barracks, the physicians don't know about.
Yep.
Which is so ironic considering they don't know half the crap that happened to us.
Yeah.
Magically losing records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very convenient.
Yeah. So what stories do you guys have? Because I know damn well you got stories. So what's one thing that you guys look back on and you kind of wish you'd still be in so you could experience again?
To experience again, I don't know if I would have.
Or that you'd look fondly on.
Well, see, there's one time that I was a generator mechanic in Iraq, right? So way too valuable in our little compound. They didn't let me go out the wire. I left a couple of times, once or twice to buy up, and another one to set up a generator at one of the shooting ranges over in Baghdad. Well, for the most part, I sat in the wire. And whenever I sat in the wire, I sat in the day room watching movies with my dirty ass boot propped up on some. One time, and one time only, I managed to sneak in House of 1,000 Corpses onto base. I had paid some local dude to go out there. I wrote down the name of it. I had some other interpreter translate the name of it. I wanted this movie. You know why? Cheryl Moon, Rob Zombie's wife.
Mm-hmm.
She had those. There was that one scene with her in the pants and the chaps with no pants underneath them. You know what I mean? So, picture. I'm in the day room, pants on, everything buttoned up. Right. This is not one of those stories. So I'm sitting there. I'm watching the. I'm having a grand old time. It's a good time. I hear.
You were putting it in the bank. Don't lie.
No, I hear my PLL clerk walk into the room. So, and he goes, "Hey, Kennedy, knock it off. First sergeant's here." I'm like, "First sergeant's." I didn't even turn around. This is how relaxed we were in country. I said, "First sergeant's gonna love this scene. It's coming up right now. You guys got here just in time." And I hear the first sergeant walk in. And it was Kennedy. Turn that shit off. I'm like, all right, first sergeant, you're gonna want to see this. I guarantee you're gonna want to see this. It's gonna let your crusty ass sleep well tonight. You're gonna need to see this. And then I hear someone in Spanish behind me say something in Spanish, right? I'm like, well, that sounds female. And that's definitely not Tejada. So I immediately jump up, do a 180. I see that there is my PLO clerk, Sergeant Tejada, who is speaking Spanish to a woman that was only 2 or 3 inches shorter than you, Baker. She's 6'1", gorgeous, to the point of could be a supermodel. Spanish lieutenant in the Spanish army, which is why she was Spanish. And she saw, and then what we saw was on the screen was a butt with the thing. And I immediately just turned around. And keep in mind, only TV on the compound. Picked up the TV, which had the VHS player attached to the bottom of it, and threw it through the window. And I immediately locked up in parade rest. And you could still hear
the movie
background noise of like spinning and everything coming through the window as I'm locked up in parade rest, and something to do with the way I was standing with my face or something like that. I was anticipating getting just executed later on. The Spanish lieutenant burst out into laughter, and he immediately took hard left the room. First sergeant left, and then Sergeant Tejada. He had some choice words for me. Partly because I embarrassed everybody, and partly because I threw our own TV out the window.
Yeah, that's probably he was most.
It's probably mostly the TV because now he can't watch his tapes.
Yeah,
that was my most memorable time over in Iraq, which is kind of crazy, seeing as how there people that have been gunfights. I didn't have gunfights. I had a fist fight.
Yeah, well, they don't have those stories either. They have other stories, but they don't have that story. They've never been embarrassed in front of a Spanish lieutenant because of the show that was continuously playing after it got thrown out the window. That's like one of those sitcom moments. You're lucky it wasn't one of those other tapes.
Very lucky.
That would have been like the cherry on the sitcom.
I had one of those sitting in my cargo pocket too. I had debated. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That door could lock from the inside.
If I really have a memorable thing or something that I want to go back to, I guess the first deployment was fun because it was in the earlier days, and it was just a good time.
ROEs were different.
And, yeah, that they were. And our unit was one of the first ones to get the Strikers, which was the 8-wheel fighting vehicles that the Army was just rolling out. And so when I was at Lewis before our deployment, we did testing on the Canadian labs before we got our Strikers, and then field test the Strikers and try to break them so they could go back and correct them so they weren't breaking in country. And so then when we got in the country, we were tasked out a lot because the Army just wanted to push out the Strikers and get those into country and to be seen, be visible. My crew on my Striker was kind of unique. It was me, it was the platoon sergeant, and then my team lead was a dude from Jamaica, and then my driver / rear security guy, he was from Ghana, Africa. And so there was always
It was very diverse.
Yes. Yeah. Very interesting conversations. Usually there was a lot of yelling directed my way because I was doing something really bizarre. And there's a lot going on that made for some very interesting and so seeing some of their facial expressions or other people's facial expressions based on what would happen was entertaining.
Why would they be giving you strange facial expressions, Baker?
Yeah.
So I would rotate.
I'm still listening. I'm going to open the door.
Driver. I would rotate out between either being a driver or being the rear security guy, and then
Seaman
the guy from Ghana. Yeah, Ghana would. If I was the driver, then he would be the rear security out the rear hatch, or vice versa. As the driver, you're tasked with the maintenance and the upkeep of the vehicle and all that stuff. And normally, even though me and the guy from Ghana, we shared those responsibilities, normally I was the one that was doing a lot of the maintenance and stuff like that.
Was his last name Rhea?
No, Afram.
Okay.
And not that he didn't want to do the maintenance. It's just, I enjoyed doing it.
Oh. He roboted.
Just got through talking a bunch of good things about Sterling.
Right. Quite the flattering pause.
That's so funny, Baker. Oh, geez. Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Ho, 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 ho.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
He's probably going to drop and come back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he can finish his story when he comes back. What's one thing that you remember that you are glad you got out?
Well, I slept until 8 o'clock this morning. I really like sleeping in the morning. I don't like I've recently gotten into that whole workout thing, which is why I hurt my foot. I get up at 4:45 in the morning to get to the gym at 5:30 in the morning to work out for an hour solid. We rarely quit before 50 minutes. And I thoroughly enjoy sleeping in. One of the greatest joys, that Jocko fella where he takes pictures of his sweat at 4:30 in the morning. That dude, man. F that dude. That's ridiculous. I don't like it.
That's not for everybody.
No.
There's a reason why the whole thought process of the warrior comes home and they just want to deal with their flower garden thing.
Yep.
It's because they just want to relax.
Nobody puts baby in corner.
Weirdly enough, the posture that you had whenever it froze was just like this. I don't remember you telling a story that required that posture, but that's what showed up.
I was telling the story of the time that I ate spaghetti before it was cooked. So it was just a long spaghetti that I was trying to put down my
and crunchy and salty all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
That was the spaghetti sauce.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
And then the hard long spaghetti.
Yeah.
Pre-dipped
So anyway.
red sauce.
So we had what was called the bird cage, just a cage that wrapped around the striker that was designed to catch RPGs and stuff like that. But obviously, it added more width to the vehicle, and so they would trust you as the driver to know if you can fit in certain places. Well, for me, we fit everywhere. We fit down here. Oh yeah. And so we would roll into ECPs, and this was before they started widening the ECPs, because at this point in time, MRAPs weren't even a thing. And so there wasn't a whole lot of really wide vehicles, with the exception of maybe a Bradley, M1 Abrams. But I think with the bird cage around the striker, we were still wider than a Bradley. And so there wasn't just a lot of wide spaces. And so because we did a lot of fob hopping, and so we would roll up to a fob, and they'd be like, you think we can fit? Oh, yeah, we can fit. And then T-walls would go down. I think we can fit. Oh, my bad. Or, you'd be doing a presence patrol somewhere, and, hey, you think we can fit? Oh, yeah. All right.
We fit.
A lot of weird stuff. Yeah.
I didn't say it'd be comfy. I said we fit.
Yeah, that's all that was asked.
Aren't all of your rucksacks attached to the bird cage on the outside?
Yeah, for a while, and then we realized that was probably a stupid idea, especially for me, because I'm going to just hit everything. If there's a chance for me to hit stuff, I'm going to hit it.
Damn it, dude! Now I'm not going to pass SIF when I have to turn this shit in. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
My boots are sitting somewhere in the middle of Afghanistan because of you.
What was funny about that was, since you brought up SIF, I was stop lost on my deployment, which I was cool with because I wanted to get deployed anyways. But my initial contract ended, and I was stop lost to make that deployment, which I was happy with. That meant as soon as we got back, I started process out. So I went to CIF to start turning in everything. I had a commander memo for stuff that was gone. But then I had other things I still had to turn in, to include my plates. And you know how TIF is. Everything has to be cleaner than when you got it. And if it's not, they kick it back. You clean it, you bring it back, and then that happens like 4 or 5 times. Unless if it's unserviceable, then they just take it. And so I brought my plates, and the lady kicked them back. Oh, son of a bitch. So then go back, bring them again another time, kicks them back again. Different person kicks them back. Still too dirty. And so I knew that if they were unserviceable, they were just going to take them. And it's one of those tall counters. And so I made eye contact with her and then slowly drug those plates towards me. And ceramic plates. They fall on the ground, crack. And I look at her, and I pick them up, and I was like, uh-oh. Now they're clean.
They're clean enough now.
Yeah.
That's definitely an Army story. I mean, I know you guys have heard other people with similar stories because it's apparently not an uncommon thing. But I remember when I was going through SIF, I go to turn my boots in. Everything else they took just fine, but I go to turn my boots in, and a little plastic piece on the end of one of the boots, whatever the hell they call those things, wasn't on it anymore. They said my boots were not going to be accepted, and I had to pay for the boots out of pocket.
Oh, nice.
So my drill sergeant looked at me, looked at her, looked at me, looked at her, looked back at me, and said, "Get in the car." And we drove down to the PX. He bought the shoelaces, handed them to me, and said, "Go turn your boots in." Got back in the car. We drove back down there. It was almost time for them to go to lunch. And he goes, "You're not leaving." She goes, What do you mean?" He said, "You're not leaving. You have a soldier inside of this building. You're not leaving until he's either taken care of or out of this building. And he's not leaving until he's taken care of."
Yep.
So he stands there and waits till I relace both boots with the new laces. Then he picks up, as soon as I'm done lacing the last one, he rips them out of my hand, throws them at her, picks up the other used shoelaces, throws them at her, and says, "The boots are clean, and throw away the old laces."
Nice.
I will remember that till the day I die.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Navy just dropped a F-18 in the Red Sea. And they're like, sorry.
Meanwhile, the Air Force has lost how many nukes now?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're going to give a shit about one plastic piece on a pair of boots.
That's how they account for all the nukes that they lost.
Yeah,
All
right.
18 million pairs of shoelaces are good to go so that they can save lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's the military for you, though.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to assume
it.
that's
If you know.
one thing that you don't miss is the SIF and everything like that.
Yeah.
I
And
asked
also,
Kennedy
I
that
don't
already.
miss the busy work just to be busy. Like COB should be now. We've accomplished all the tasks we needed, but it's too early, so we're going to do stuff just to do stuff.
You're going to go sweep the dirt floor in the huts.
I hated that crap.
Mop the parking lot because it's raining.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I don't miss any of that silly stuff. Not at all.
It's literally like you're being punished for finishing your work early.
You're being punished for
Okay,
existing.
I got extra duty I need to do. So if we could get this started, that'd be great. I had a few Article 15s. So.
Just one.
Nah. So on that, what was the highest rank you ever achieved?
E4.
Mine was E6. If I would have stayed in, I would have got my 7, no doubt about it. And that was, if I would have re-enlisted, 7 would have been the next rank, no doubt. But I was done with it.
So you made it to staff and you were Sham Shield.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, though, Sergeant and Staff Sergeant was probably the only rank that I ever held once. All the other ranks below that, I held multiple times.
So once you made it finally to the NCO course, you said, I'm not taking this course again. I'm doing it right from now on.
No, not at all. I think it was just too big of a pain in the ass for them to demote a sergeant. It's a whole lot easier for them to demote when they're an NCO because I absolutely did not change anything. If anything, I probably became a little bit more mouthy.
Look, you gave me responsibility now.
Yeah. There was only one time, and at this time I was still E5, where there was the possibility of me losing my rank, but I guess they didn't want to go down that road, and it was, in my opinion, for a good cause. This was on the second deployment. And for that particular deployment, I was infantry. And for some reason, our infantry company got tasked with PSD. Normally that goes to MPs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But our unit got tasked with PSD. And so we were there in the Baghdad area, and all high-ranking military, civilian officials, bands, celebrities, whoever would come into that part of the country, we would do the PSD for them. And so it was the
rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, that one.
That does sound good. I'm incredibly hungry, and so that's probably what's on my mind right now. But the PSD,
for those that don't know, PSD, personal security detail.
Yeah.
It wasn't a dedicated individual. It wasn't just a general. It wasn't a colonel. It wasn't anything like that. It would rotate depending on who it was. And so we had Advon. We had I don't remember what star it was, but he was flying in. And so we sent the Advon down there. They land. General shows up before they were supposed to show up. And so as soon as they get on the ground, I kick the Advon back, go to the Joint Visitor Bureau to drop all the luggage and stuff off. This was in 2010 timeframe. And MPs apparently had nothing else to do on the fob. And so they were stopping people for speeding. And this was at like 10:30 at night or something silly like that.
Right.
And so we had
the end of the month equivalent of the stateside.
Yes. We had up-armored, unmarked Suburbans. And so my Advon guy stopped. And the way this vehicle was broke down was a driver and then my Advon guy that was running in the passenger seat. And so he was in charge of that vehicle. And he did exactly what I told him to. Get back there and unload this shit. And So he gets stopped, and they gave him a citation, which is different. It's not like a bill or anything you have to pay. It goes to your chain of command, and then your chain of command figures out the punishment and all this silly stuff.
You're still paying for it. It just doesn't cost you money necessarily.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. So, me and the first sergeant, I've had an interesting history with first sergeants. Anyways, me and this first sergeant didn't necessarily see eye to eye on a lot of stuff.
What?
Sounds like a trend with you, Baker.
Yeah, and so the next day or whenever it was, shortly thereafter, I get called in to the first sergeant's office, and there's a discussion about this incident. And the first sergeant wants to take rank, give him an Article 15 for doing this, and that didn't sit well.
How fast was he driving?
Not ridiculous. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it's not like he was doing I don't even think he was doing 40 miles an hour. No idea, right? Maybe he wasn't 40. I don't remember, but it wasn't like he was doing 100 or 90 or 80 or 70. Probably not even 60.
Well, that's why the insignia of the military police is a blue falcon.
True. And first sergeant was a little bit butthurt because it was a dark road, and he shouldn't have been going that fast. And I'm like, well, it's the military. We're in Iraq. Dangerous things happen. This is probably the least of the dangerous things that could happen. And
him stopping you is more dangerous.
When we're back home, we're doing 60, 70 miles per hour on a highway. And for good old Louisiana boys, you're probably doing it drunk. So
right,
this isn't a big deal. And so he and I went back and forth on it. Then the commander got involved, and I got pulled out of the talk. And then my LT got involved, which I've had an interesting history with LTs as well. But my LT got involved, and I pretty much told him, if you guys want to give him an Article 15, get the pen ready, because you're going to be giving me one. Needless to say, he didn't get an Article 15. He didn't lose his rank, and I didn't lose rank either. They just kind of, we'll call it even. Just don't get stopped by the MPs. To me, that means don't stop for the MPs. That's how I do it.
Yes.
Direction's clear.
Yeah, don't stop for the MPs.
Well, I mean, but that's a good example of you being a good NCO, though. In all honesty, you stood up for one of your soldiers under your command and said, no, if you're going to punish him, then you got to go after me first. You got to get through me first. And that's the way it actually should be.
I agree. Yeah. And so that it didn't necessarily mean that I just played ball when I got my NCO. It just meant that I was willing to push things around a little bit more.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, you look back in history, some of the biggest, heaviest hitters that made the most impact in the military followed a similar path to you, man. Like multiple times busted down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did not have an easy time at it.
No, they fought, bit and clawed their way up the chain.
Yeah. Especially on my first deployment, I was a useful tool, because if the chain of command needed something, hey, look, this is what we need. Okay. And then I can go get things done for them to make their life easier. It didn't mean that I always made their life easier. I actually made their life very difficult. But when I could help, I helped.
So when you finally got to the NCO level, you never let go of the specialist mindset. You just were a specialist with rank.
100%. And I would even tell my dudes that, hey, look, we're not just going to sit here and do stupid things to do stupid things. We're going to go into the wood line, or, we're going to get out of sight and pretend that we're doing whatever silliness they want us to do. And we're just going to do dude stuff.
Right.
How many times did you wake one of them up?
A lot.
Wait, how many times did you wake who up? Your guys or your bosses?
Fair question.
I'm
gonna grab my drink real quick.
That was cool.
You had to wake somebody up with a taser?
Yeah. So
I gotta hear this one, Baker.
on my first deployment, for whatever reason, they gave us tasers. Actually, I know why they gave us tasers. It was in the event people start climbing the cage on the striker and they start getting too close, but it's not a deadly force situation, you can tase them. Well, guess what we never did? We never tased anybody that was climbing the cage on the striker. Who we did tase? Each other. All the time. Because that's what you do.
Well, I mean, the training mandates it. You know, you can't operate a taser unless you know what it's like to be tased.
Exactly. True. Yeah.
Seems reasonable to me.
An outpost for a while on my first deployment, and we just rolled the strikers in, and we shared out a blown out building with the Iraqi army, which was an experience all on its own. And then we manned the top security post, and we had one guy that never got up on time for guard shift. Usually there'd be two of us up there. Not that we necessarily mandated two people up there. It was just, what the fuck else are you gonna do? What else? Yeah. Sleep? Boring. We're gonna go up there, and sometimes you might have 3 or 4 dudes up there in the middle of the night.
Well, that, you know, 2 people let you talk to somebody instead of you risking falling asleep on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I was pretty irritated with this dude who didn't show up again for his guard shift. And so I climbed down, went into the structure. He was asleep in his cot, put out the old taser, lit him up. Which was awesome. He had a fun time waking up. That was a lot of fun. Not only did it wake him up, everybody else that was in that room's sleeping sound woke up to the sound of him screaming, probably pissing, and things going all over the place.
Yep.
After that,
looking like he had an epileptic fit the entire time.
He made sure we're gone back to sleep.
You are the cause for somebody's PTSD. You know that.
Yeah.
I can't sleep at night, Doc. I don't know why. I just keep waking up. I feel like I'm shocked and peeing myself.
And it wasn't a dark room, but it was a dimly lit room. So I'm hoping that in his mind, he woke up to me giggling and like the some flickering going on, dimly lit, and me just in full kit giggling. Hopefully, when he closes his eyes at night, that's what he sees. 20 years later, or whatever it is.
We're gonna get this. Gonna be like the one top comment in this entire thing. So you're the who did that to me. He watches this video all these years later, and he's like, "I found you, Jack. I knew it was you."
Yeah, that was a good time.
Now I know what your gun room looks like.
I need a taser.
Well, I mean, you should still have one. Didn't the department let you keep yours?
No, actually, you know, when I was on the job, our uniform patrol wasn't issued tasers. Well, some people did. Some sergeants had them. Maybe some dudes on traffic had them, but the majority of uniform patrol didn't have tasers.
So your regular beats didn't have?
No.
Wow.
To be honest with you, I didn't even want a taser.
Well, no. If I pull something, it's going to get used.
Yeah. I had a baton, pistol, flashlight, and an empty can of pepper spray.
Mm-hmm.
Empty?
And it was, because I didn't like pepper spraying people either. Usually, it worked against you.
Yep.
Because you always happen to be downwind when you need it.
Yeah. Or you get the one guy that's trying to help you that's doing this to everybody who's fighting somebody. And really, the only reason that I had an empty can of pepper spray is because I'll pepper spray other cops. Like if they're in the bathroom, I'm sneaking under the door and while they're dropping a stink pickle, and there you go, friend.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Or whenever you're all like standing around in a circle in the parking lot, and everybody's just like, "Oh yeah, so I did that on this weekend. I did that on this weekend," and you had the can of spray tucked underneath your arm, and you're just hosing down their boots, so that whenever they sit in their unit and their boots are that much closer to their head, it's just this constant waft.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I wasn't in the same department as you guys. Our shenanigans were bad, but they weren't pepper spraying and tasing each other bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we our shenanigans.
Our report writing room, would routinely get like a fog of CS gas
Yeah.
while you're in there.
See, our department,
So
it was in Virginia,
so
so
that-
they use the doe and rut smell,
ooh.
the deer scent.
Yeah.
That's what we sprayed each other with.
Isn't that just straight ammonia?
No, it's deer pee.
Oh, that's good.
It stains clothes too. Their uniform shirts did not look too great.
You guys have been popular at some Diddy parties. Yeah. It wasn't me. We had a guy who was on my shift. A guy, I don't remember if he caught a possum. I think it was a possum. And then threw it in someone's unit. They weren't in the unit at the time. They were there at the station doing something. Threw it in the unit. So this was back when we still had the Crown Vics.
Yeah.
Every Crown Vic had a different key, but every key worked in every Crown Vic.
Yep.
And so he went in to the patrol center. The dude with the possum opened up the door, threw the live possum in there, shut the door, and then, oh boy, whenever he gets to his unit, goes to get into his unit. And I don't remember if he got all the way in his unit, halfway in his unit, and possum's like, hi.
Imagine
Who put the little girl in the cop car and why is she running away?
Floorboard. Imagine a bone white face doing this at your floorboard.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of shenanigans that took place. That's what I would say I missed the most out of military and law enforcement. It's just the shenanigans.
Yeah, it's the stuff that you did to pass the time to keep your mind from going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
There's
team building camaraderie that you get with it.
Yeah. Yep.
We had my cousin, who was the one that got me into law enforcement. He had a rebellious streak because he was a Boy Scout. So, they're always used to mess with each other. And so he ended up pulling a...
Poor choice of words.
Rat. I know. That's why I said it. So a nuclear rat is about this big, right? These things are big enough and bad enough where they can tunnel holes through the levees that separate ponds. They're just incredibly vicious little bastards. So he pulled one out of some old lady's dryer one time. And then he realized that our boss, because it's Louisiana, these things are all over the place. He realized that our boss, Mac, he's a black dude, hated rodents with a passion. So he stuck the Nutri-Rat in a shoebox. He brought it back to patrol and said, all right, everybody meet me back in patrol. So we all went back in patrol and we pretended like we missed his birthday by like 2 days. So we pretended like we were delivering him a belated happy birthday. And so he was sitting in this sergeant's office, just everything's nice and neat and pressed, and he's very secure, and he's got everything in the right order. And he's like, oh, hey,
Pencils are at 90-degree angles.
yes, because we all knew that Mac was the kind of guy that if he saw a rat, then he would try to stand on something. But if he saw a rat this big, he might do something a little bit more permanent. And
Who got shot?
Stand on something. Exactly. So all of us had good lanes of egress out of his office. And so he put the box down. Here you go. He was like, oh, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. He gave a little heartfelt, oh, I've only been your sergeant for a little bit, but this means the world to me. And he opened this thing up, and I realized that it was time to leave whenever my cousin, Brandon, the guy that actually put that on he was standing behind me. He immediately dived out of the door. And it was right on that time I noticed the corner of my eye. I looked back. The box was open on the shoebox. Mac was standing up. He was drawing his gun out of his holster. Quickly followed my cousin to dive out of the door as well. Reholstered his gun, and for some odd reason, he thought that he would tase the rodent. And all that did was just caused that thing to just start running and jumping everywhere. We were lucky that there are no bullet holes in that wall or ceiling.
Don't tase the wild animals.
The same guy. Brandon's the same guy that almost let me get bit by that rattlesnake over at your place. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're walking over into the place where the gun room is now, It was nice and dark as a hot summer night, and Brandon's walking behind me. Like I said, Boy Scout. So he hears. I'm a city boy from Texas, right? I don't know. There's somebody waving a rattle around here. We have children. What the hell's going on? So Brandon, he jumps back a good 2-3 feet, and I'm just standing there. Where are you going? I thought we were going over here. So he takes out a flashlight and he goes, "You might want to step back." And I'm like, "Shit." Took a couple of dummy strikes at me. I really got to rethink my cousins.
You might want to not go to the next family reunion.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to realize.
They're after the money.
Right. Joke's on them. Spend it all on cat food.
For your cat, right?
Eh.
Man, he's so.
There's some very down to the luck ladies around here that. Never mind.
That's what we all have in common. We're all too broke to even pay attention.
I am the most normal one out of my entire family.
That's terrifying.
Baker's met Brandon. He can verify that Brandon's a little off. His brother's Josh is even weirder. I've got a couple of kooky brothers, and one. Oh no, my sister's more normal than I am. But that's it.
Yeah.
I swear.
Well, I can agree
I'm
with
the
that.
second normal.
Oh,
I'm the second
Yeah.
normal.
you only have one sister and no other siblings, right?
Me?
Yeah.
I've got one sister and 2 retarded ass brothers.
Oh. I forgot about your brothers.
Big R. Big R. Heavy R.
Yeah.
The hard R.
Say hard R. No. Big R.
We won't say that one.
No. We will not say that one.
Your brothers are special.
Frequent flyers on the short bus.
Less retarded and more retarded.
Gotcha.
It's like not retarded, like, that dude's retarded, like retarded, like has problems functioning within society.
Yeah.
You mean they're
And not like
not undiagnosed?
no. No, this isn't autism. It's saying mean things to people for no apparent reason.
So bipolar. Minus
Probably lots
the
of things,
bi.
yeah. Texas people, we don't take kindly to that kind of action, that kind of insinuation, sir.
I mean, if the boot fits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't have any siblings. I'm just the only child.
That's why
I'm the oldest of 4.
You're the oldest of 4?
Mm-hmm. All brothers.
Oh boy.
The age gap between me and my next brother is 4.5 years.
That's the age gap between me and my next brother.
And the age gap between them is 9 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad don't really believe in, after work TV, huh?
I mean, they're now divorced, if that tells you anything.
Shit.
It tells you they were trying to fix something that wasn't going to be fixed, is what it was.
Yeah.
That's why I've got 3.
Neither of them
Yeah.
know how to read.
Nah. You don't need that. Come on now.
This is a video age. Yeah. You don't,
Them words are just hard to understand when they're on a page like that. I mean, I'd rather just wait for the movie to come out. You know that.
Yeah, straight. And then what are you going to do whenever you're waiting for the movie?
Watch a different movie.
Thank you, baby.
I mean, once I've seen all the movies, yeah, that's all I got left to do. So, liking the new gun room over there too. I saw y'all's final video on that one when you guys were explaining the pouring of that little concrete pad back there.
Mhm.
Turned into a bigger challenge than you anticipated.
That wasn't
Big
fun.
time. Yeah. But we're very pleased with the way it turned out.
Yes.
Provides nice studio space, nice usable space, storage space for equipment, obviously guns, everything else.
Mhm.
So it's very beneficial.
Plus,
No, it looks
the way
good.
it's designed, it keeps the shelf of sex toys out of casual line of sight.
That's a special shelf.
That's right.
That's what.
Oh, you were keeping those in your felony case, right?
Yeah, the really big ones were in the felony. Safe.
Yeah, the monsters.
Yeah, the family size ones.
The ones that aren't stiff enough to be laid up in a corner like a gun bag.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, the ones that are banned in 67 countries.
That's right.
Yeah.
I swear for a second
Not
there, I thought
because
you
of
said
their
there were
size.
bayonets in 67 countries.
They're not banned in 67 countries because of the size or anything. It's the chemical makeup of the material. It breaks down within the body. It's just horrible.
Especially when combined with fecal matter.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Its enemas are for bitches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the gun room turned out nicely. We're
Yeah, it did.
happy with it. Have to come down and check it
Not
out
too
at some
shabby.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll try to make a trip down there. I was going to try to make one this summer, but my oldest just turned a particular age that her mother is taking her to a Harry Potter themed place because it is that age for her.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going on her own special trip with mommy this year, and I'm going to be with my other two for that same duration that they're down there. So a lot of my money is going towards a trip with them somewhere during that week.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to try. I'm also probably going to be making it out west again this year at some point, probably closer to the same time frame I was last year. If I do that, I'll try to swing back through. This time I'll actually make it to y'all instead of not making it to you. You guys know what happened last time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the car that happened to, by the way, it just overheated last week.
Really?
Did you have any water in it?
Yeah, it had perfect fluid levels, everything it needed, and then all of a sudden, I'm sitting in McDonald's drive-thru, and I hear, and
Thermostat stick?
I haven't gotten into it yet.
Interesting.
It was leaking, so what I did was I dumped water in it to get it out of the parking lot, and ended up having to take the truck down with the trailer and tow it back. Put it in the lot, dump more water in the reservoir, and watched it just pour right out of the bottom of the motor. Don't know where it's coming from. Haven't taken the time to look at it yet. I'll deal with it.
Based on my lengthy experience of being a general mechanic in the Army, my suggestion would be to put more water in it.
That's that Army engineering experience for you.
That's right.
It's almost like being an Army medic. Just take ibuprofen and change your socks.
That's right. Yep.
Would you give that same recommendation for an air-cooled engine?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I would. Everything just needs more water. I learned that
It's a good thing he didn't work on rotary.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right there. Yeah. Well, so what about you? What's some of your stories from the military?
My most memorable story is the one with the boots. That drill sergeant Marshall, is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. I'm going to name drop him here. Yeah. Greatest NCO I ever had. The pleasure of being commanded by. He's staff sergeant at the time. Don't know where he's at now. Haven't talked to him in a while, but great man. Fantastic man. I swear, I know it. I know I didn't. Okay. I know it wasn't him, but I swear at one point, now that I know who Richard High is, I swear I saw him on my basic training or my AIT training base at one point.
Really?
There's a guy that looked exactly like him, and I didn't get close enough to know who the drill sergeant's name was, so I can't tell you for confident it was. But looking back in my memory, I swear to God, he was on one of my. He was not in my unit training me, but he was like an adjacent company.
Mm-hmm.
I swear he was there, but if I ever get the chance to talk to him about it, that's a question I'm going to ask him.
Hell yeah.
My bigger stories are more from my police and then the contracting time. So, like, I can tell you a lot of stories from the jail.
Well, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I never worked in the jail, but I spent a lot of time in the jail because of different situations or things that would happen there that we would get.
Too many DUIs?
Me?
Yeah. You said you never worked in the jail, but you spent a lot of time there. Too many DUIs?
No, trick is again to not stop. If you don't stop, you
I mean, fair enough.
happen. Yeah. If you commit enough heinous felonies, they have no choice but to stop doing what they're doing. Otherwise, they're going to get pulled into a legal battle they don't want.
Yes.
But yeah,
Fair.
but we would get called out to the jail a lot, like for SWAT or things like that. And
Are they private prisons out there?
no, where we were, we
It was
had
a jail.
a parish prison, but it also housed federal inmates.
Okay, so you guys had an actual Department of Corrections employees there, like they were officers and or some of the one of the police branches or Department of Corrections, then, right?
Our sheriff's office
Right.
in
Okay.
Louisiana, a parish is a county.
Okay.
Our sheriff's office staffed the parish,
Gotcha.
jail.
Okay.
But it also housed federal inmates.
Yeah, because there's some places that I know that where they break them up to where there's actual, like DC is Department of Corrections. They have their own correctional officers. Same thing up where I'm at right now. The county sheriff, it doesn't handle the jail. Like they're literally just for eviction notices, fire, damn it, CCWs, concealed carry permits, and basic stuff like that. Like if you need to serve documentation, get a warrant for something, and you want the police to handle that, or you have a private dispute, civil dispute that they call officers out to, instead of bogging down the local PD, they call the sheriff out for that stuff.
Yeah.
But because of that, we have our own Department of Corrections, and they're actually sworn correctional officers. So they're covered under the LEOSA, but they're not cops, so they can't pull you over or arrest you outside of the prison.
Okay.
It's confusing.
Yeah, with us,
very confusing.
Our sheriff's office was a little unique. Again, a parish is a county. So the parish that we worked for, the largest city within that parish disbanded their police department. So then the sheriff's office took over PD operations, metro, all that stuff.
Right.
And so our SO handled calls in that city just like a PD would. And then on top of that, we also had parish operations, and then we would also cover other smaller cities and towns in our areas. And so ours was a little bit different than most sheriff's office.
Well, that's what I understood it to be, because that's where my sheriff's office was. When I worked for the sheriff's office, we did patrol, we did everything, and we also had jail duty. So
Okay.
it was literally you went in the morning, you were going to be assigned to the jail or the street.
Okay, yeah. For us, you were either in the jail, it was a dedicated staff position, or you worked patrol or whatever other position you may have. But you wouldn't flip-flop between the two. You might, I shouldn't say that. There were times where something would happen, and then they might have some overtime available in the jail. But you weren't necessarily there as a jailer. You were there as additional support in the event something silly happened.
Right. No, they did it that way for us because they didn't want there to be like an animosity and one be considered like a punishment and one a reward. They rotated us all the same 12s. Like the staff changed at the exact same time for both, which was actually a little bit of a security flaw if you ask me, but
yeah,
it is what it is. So that they did it that way so that you didn't have people that were always in the jail having to deal with the inmates and people that were always out on the street, because they had a problem for a long period of time where the patrol officers, the patrol deputies, would gripe about the jailers and the jailers would gripe about the patrol. So that to eliminate that, they said, oh, okay, well, no, you guys are just going to do each other's jobs. You're going to understand how hard it is to do each other's jobs. That way you stop bitching about it.
Yeah.
That was the sheriff's solution.
That. Yeah, ours was just dedicated positions. And then on top of that, we had SWAT, we had narcotics, detectives, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Bicycle patrol, water patrol.
Which was a lot of fun. Bicycle patrol.
Oh.
Although it sounds silly. What was that show back in the 90s that was all about bicycle patrol? You guys remember that?
I want to say Reno 911, but that wasn't it.
Pacific Blue, maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And they had the little flashy lights on their bikes. Anyways, it was a silly
We
show.
didn't have
But
that shit.
we did have bicycle patrol, and it sounds silly, but boy, was it effective.
It was.
And it was fun.
Crime went down by about 40% in each zone whenever we were on bicycle patrol out in that particular area at night.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they wouldn't be able to hear you coming. You couldn't put the playing card in your spokes.
Yep.
Now, having said that, my training wheels to keep me vertical, they did make a little bit of extra noise, but I was usually covered up by the road noise of other cars.
Yeah.
So,
They called it biker boys. Like all the, the people in the areas and the hoods and stuff like that called it biker boys. The biker boys here, and then you would see, and we would disappear into the woods or the trees or whatever, throw bikes over fences, and it was a lot of fun. One of the when the sheriff swore in, I don't remember if it was. I think it was maybe his re-election. I don't remember what it was. Anyways, he swore in on the steps of parish courthouse, and some of us that night were on bicycle patrol. And normally what would happen is if you made an arrest, let's say for dope, and you would log it into your evidence envelope, you would seal it, you'd write all the information onto the evidence envelope, and then it would go into your backpack until you got to the control facility later on to put it into evidence. And then you would just go from place to place to place. And if you made an arrest, then you'd have a marked unit come pick those people up, take them to the jail, and then you would roll out to the jail later and do the paperwork, or you would just write the stuff down and then give it to that patrol deputy, and then they would do it. And so then you're able to just get out there and create a lot of paperwork for yourself.
It was 12 hours of riding and fighting.
Yeah. And so
that's when you just do the paperwork handoff and say, "Hey, I signed it off to so and so at this time. Is there a problem now?"
But us on bike patrol, I don't remember how many there was at night. If it was like 5, or I don't remember how many of us there was. But all
it usually fluctuated between 4 and 6.
Yeah, backpack full of dough.
So 5.
All of us just good time. Made a lot of cases on bike patrol.
So you're saying all that somebody needed to do is wait for you to put your backpack down, and they could have made off with a ton of evidence.
Oh yeah,
it could have. I don't think that those backpacks really ever came off our backs.
Nope.
We would fight with them on. We would do everything with them on.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of times, if we were jumping calls, like if we had our radios on, sometimes you wouldn't have the radios on because you really didn't care. You were just out there being proactive, and then sometimes you might have the radio on. So if you hear a call, there were times where bicycle patrol would get to a scene before march units did, and we'd scoot across town. Gone.
Get to the other side of the parish before the marked car can get there.
Yeah. Yep. Which, by the way, Grim, do you know how you do a traffic stop on a bicycle?
No.
You roll up on one side, usually the driver's side. You say, "Hey, pull over," and they go, "Shut up," and you go, "Pull over." Stop the car.
Very effective.
That worked.
Ironically enough, I got in less vehicle pursuits and foot pursuits on bicycle patrol than I ever did in a marked unit.
Yep.
Which is ironic, because you would think they would definitely run from the biker.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm not getting pulled over by some wussy bicycle cop. Come on, can we get a real cop out here?
All it took was like 2 weeks for the word to get out that the bicycle guys just did not play. There was no... Yeah. Whenever we pulled you over, whenever we approached you, we've already been watching you for 15 minutes. We already know that you're definitely reaching the level of probable cause, and you're getting handcuffs on you. Yeah.
Or we made a lot of warrant arrests too. Like, oh look, there's so and so. He's got warrants, and then whether it was a vehicle or on foot or whatever the case may be. And we had that. The parish we worked for was very high tempo. It was very active. There was a lot going on. A lot.
Sounding like Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
had to pick something that wasn't even in your state.
Let me put it like this. Whenever me and Baker went to do any sort of additional training, Baker more than me, but whenever I would go out to do additional training and the people would ask us, where you guys from? And we tell them our parish, they go, oh, okay. Gotta watch out for those.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
Because they like to cut
Why
out,
aren't you
yeah.
teaching the class?
Yeah.
Right.
We did a lot of silly things too. And then I sometimes created a headache for my supervisors when I was alone. Oh, it's hard.
No, not you.
Especially when I was on uniform patrol. And Kennedy will tell you, I would get reprimanded for not using the radio like I'm supposed to, i.e., not calling things out. I may have just had some violent encounters happen, and I'm not calling anything out. And it would happen very frequently.
Baker,
Be up on the
use
radio.
your call outs.
And instead of, so for us, if you have an arrest, it's a 10:15. So I would just all of a sudden bloop, 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 key up, and my call sign, log 2 10:15s. Dispatcher's like, what the hell is going on? What are you doing? I'm like, oh, that's right. I did all this stuff beforehand. Okay, so, and then I would have to tell them everything. And then my sergeant would be like, can't, you've got to call out traffic stops, or you have to call this stuff out before you can get to an arrest. I'm like, hey, look, man, things just happen sometimes. You know?
You can't have your arrest time be earlier than the case that started that the arrest was
Yeah.
attached to.
And they'll
There'd be times where I would boop, 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 show me en route to the jail. What do you have? I'm like, oh yeah, log at 10:15. But what happened before that? Oh yeah. My bad.
Started traffic stop.
Yeah, there was this whole thing that happened before this.
and I'm just sitting over here on the sergeant's side of the desk with my mind going, you know why we have you do that, right? It's because if you get hurt during a traffic stop and we don't know you're on a traffic stop, we can't send you back up.
But things would just happen sometimes. Yeah. Then when I got into narcotics and started working in plainclothes, he used the radio, but like internal comms was just all plain talk. We didn't use any 10s or any codes. And then I would occasionally key up on like high band, and I'd be like, and I didn't even remember my call sign. I'm like, this is Baker.
Hey, this is Baker.
I need an ambulance here. Like my radio speech was horrible. And I remember one time.
At least you didn't default to TV cop talk. I need a bus down on the corner of 48th and Broadway. Stat.
Yeah, yeah. And you might remember it. To call for a tow truck and to call for an ambulance was very similar. One was like a 1078, one was maybe a 1076 or some crap.
79.
Like that.
79 next in line. Yeah.
79 was a tow truck. Okay.
Yeah.
What was the ambulance?
78.
Okay.
That's why they were close. It was literally the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember when I was in narcotics, I keyed up and I was like, hey, I'm going to for sure use 10 codes because this is what I should do. And I called, what'd you say a record was? 1079?
Yeah.
I already know where this is going.
1079, this location. Good to go. And some time is going by. Man, why is this taking so long? And then all of a sudden, record shows up. And I was like, I switched one of the other channels. I was like, hey, record just showed up. Yeah? No, we need an ambulance. You called for a record.
So what you called for?
Shouldn't have done that. Should have just did my plain talk. Damn it. Need an ambulance. It wasn't a big emergency, so people listening to this, don't freak out. It wasn't. Fine. It's just,
Yes.
we need an ambulance out here. But I accidentally called for a record type name, an ambulance, and then I was like, I'm just going back to plain talk because 10 codes are.
You're in the middle of an AS situation, active situation, and
Yeah.
so you got 4 officers down, and you come out here and 4 tow trucks rolling up.
Yeah. God damn it.
I guess form a line, form a barricade, and get out of here.
Which in our area,
Call 911 on your way.
all the tow truck drivers were better armed than the cops were in the area. So
Yeah.
if that happened, we still have firepower superiority anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for that area, they need to be more heavily armed. They're the ones that are handling the repos.
Yeah.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even up in my area, the repo drivers, you know which trucks are repo drivers and you know which trucks are AAA.
I would not want to do that job.
No,
Not even.
definitely not.
Yeah. I
Tend to
saw a
get a
video
little bit more-
recently of one of those dudes that was trying to hook up to a car and the guy jumped in it and ran over his head. Well,
Mhm.
that sucks.
Dangerous job.
No, there's a lot of stupid things I'll do in my life, but that's not one of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
Same thing with Bounty Hunter.
I actually thought about that one for a little while. I'm not going to lie to you. I was kind of good at stuff
How good are
like
you at
that.
finding
So,
people? How good are you at
That's
finding
cool.
people?
well, I did PI work for a little while.
There you go.
I liked it. It just didn't pay enough. So,
Got
I
it.
don't think I would enjoy it.
That's too boring for you, Baker. You wouldn't be able to deal with that.
see, I like puzzles. Call it my autism, call it whatever you want to call it, but I like puzzles. And the ultimate puzzle is someone who doesn't even know what they're doing.
True.
Trying to figure out what they're going to do next and they don't even know. That's a hard puzzle.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, I like to put puzzles together and then break them.
Well, I mean, that's what you get to do. You literally get to break them at the end. It's like they spent all this time trying to run from you and gotcha.
Yeah.
What's her name now? Oh, it's a he. Okay. I'm unfortunately one of those people that's gone through a lot of different careers trying to find where I sit. I've done just about everything from a farmhand to retail to military, police, security, investigations, mall cop security.
I've never done that.
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people go down a lot of different paths, either before, military, law enforcement, or whatever they might get into, and then even after that. I've done a lot of different jobs as well that didn't necessarily involve any type of security work or anything like that. So,
My favorite not military, police, or security job ever, I think, had to have been working for the post office. I was a rural mail carrier. Even though it was the most bullcrap job I ever had, because the restrictions were ridiculous, and I'll go into that in a minute, but it was the most fun job I ever had. You go in at the same time every morning, you work 6 days a week, you get paid for the amount of time that your route takes, even if you don't take that long to do it. So you're incentivized to get it done faster and get the mail out on time because you get paid the same no matter what. So if you run over, you're still only getting paid this much. If you get out early, you're going to get paid this much.
Yeah.
So it was great. The issue with it is for the first 90 days that you're employed, you are paying into the mail carriers union. You don't have representation with the mail carriers union. You're not accepted as a member for the first 90 days during your probationary period.
yeah, you're still paying the dues.
Yeah, you start paying the dues day one, but you don't get the representation and coverage from them until 90 days.
That's fun.
Start your 90 days in the middle of a northeastern winter in an LLV with one-wheel brakes on snow.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, if you wreck a mailbox, get in an accident, speeding ticket, any kind of trouble whatsoever, doesn't matter, immediately canned. And you can't reapply for the post office for 6 months.
Damn.
Wow. And you paid those dues.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
I made it to 89 days. Brakes weren't working going down a hill, crashed into a mailbox.
Yeah.
No kidding. That was it.
Yep.
That was it.
Kidding.
That'd be my luck too.
In an LLV. That was
Nice.
worth the value of that thing was less than my monthly paycheck. I could have bought them another one.
Yeah.
The mailbox and the LLV combined.
I think probably my more memorable non-military law enforcement job is either when I worked with a moving company in Washington State, because that kept you very physically fit. That was a very active job. The pay was pretty good as well, and you were pretty much doing the same thing, moving people's stuff, but it was different every day. So I would say it was either that or I worked for a restoration company that worked with insurance companies. So if a house had fire damage, flood damage, hurricane, not hurricanes because this was up north, so tornado damage, any type of damage that insurance had a part in, and insurance companies would put the bid out to different restoration businesses in that area, and then whoever had the best bid, the insurance company would go with, and then you'd get the work. So I worked with a restoration company on the demo side, doing all their demo work, which was nice because you just break stuff and get yelled at for it. But what I really enjoyed about that job was they had a post-mortem cleanup side of it. So if somebody was
found deceased
inside of a structure, then once the coroner came in and did their thing and law enforcement did their thing, then it would get put out for bid, and then that company would go in and do all the cleanup work.
Right.
And it paid a lot more. That was some very interesting work. At this time, I was living up in Illinois, outside of Chicago, and so our area of work was very large, and oftentimes would go into the Chicago area, and the post-mortem side would take us to a lot of the residential communities outside of Chicago, but also into Chicago area itself. And so it was interesting nonetheless. But those are probably my two more enjoyable jobs outside military law enforcement.
I mean, it's definitely that was enjoyable outside the military law enforcement. And private security. No. Although it is quite free.
Red light district.
It's not fun though. Right. No, that's not a job. That's a hobby.
That's a profession.
Anyway, the one that I liked the most was the welder's helper job that I did with my dad in the summers before I got into the military. My dad was a pipeline welder, contract pipeline welder for 40 years.
Wow.
So he had 20 years worth of really old equipment. And the grinder that I used to clean up his welder was a 9-inch bladed Makita Wildcat that weighed half as much as I did at that point. And the amount of muscle that damn thing and that old man put on me over the course of one summer is probably the only reason I was able to actually make it through basic training. Because I don't know if you know this. You can't really tell by the camera. If you haven't met me before, I'm not a very large person. 5'4", 140 pounds soaking wet. And by the time I was done with that one summer of banging that stupid Makita Wildcat around, I put on a little bit of weight for that. It was good times.
Yeah.
You never know how much electricity hurts until you're 3 months into the job on the summer, about ready to go to school. You're tired. You're god-awful tired of waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go do construction 12 hours a day. And so you're leaning on the pipe, and you have the negative lead, what's called the grasshopper, that allows the electricity to flow into the pipe for the welding rod, and you're leaning on it, and it just got rained on. And you're just kind of laying around. And your dad, because your dad's a bit of a dick, right? And he's got this welding rod in his hand. He looks over at you, and he goes, "Hey, get to work." You're like, "Hey, knock it off, old man." You're like, "All right." And he just sticks the rod to the pipe. And he goes, "Like that, right?" There's a hole about 3 inches deep and charred black on the underside of my tricep. And I never did that again.
What? I know I told you guys about the story where I grabbed the dryer cord.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was from whenever I was working with my dad. This is before I was technically old enough to be working, so I don't count it as the first job. It was me helping my dad out fixing up the trailers. So after school and during the summer, I would go in with my dad and we'd fix the mobile home park we lived in. I don't know if you know this about me, but yeah, I'm trailer trash. Ooh.
Hey,
So
not knocking it. Trailers are awesome.
my dad
Everybody
grew up.
do that.
Yeah. Well. No. So my dad, when I grew up, he was fixing the trailers in the park, and that's how we would. Part of the way we would pay our rent because we weren't necessarily the most wealthy people on the planet. So he had to do odd jobs and stuff like that to make ends meet while my mom also went to work. So the way he did that was he worked his day job, and then in the evenings he'd come home and he'd be the maintenance person for our park, and they'd cut our rent down.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go with him to help him out with things, typical story, hold the flashlight, learn shit, right?
Yep.
Our house. The dryer goes. He gets the authorization to change the parts on the dryer. The cost of the park's going to pay for it because it's their property. And he pulls the plug out the wall, threads the things off, and he goes, "Okay, you saw how I just did that, right?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, you put the new one back on." 5, almost 6 years old at this point, okay?
Sure.
So we're talking like kindergarten, maybe first grade.
Right.
Yeah, Dad, I got this. Because I tore my first motor apart when I was 4. Put it back together again. So mechanically inclined. So putting a dryer cord on, you'd think I'd be fine, right? No. My dumb little brain, into the wall. Plugged it in. Right in the 210. Oh, crap. I saw it sparking. On the dryer. Okay, sparking.
Yeah.
Grab it.
Genius. Oh, that can't happen.
Yeah. You're lucky.
My dad's just standing there. He's like, "You ain't gonna do that again, are you?" It's like, mm-mm. He's like, "You want to finish putting it on?" I was like, "Nope, you go ahead. I'm good."
I think my entire adult life has been one painful lesson after. Whenever I first started working with my dad as a welder's helper, so you use a hard grinding disc on some parts of the pipe and a buffing wheel, basically a metal brush on
To get rid of the flux.
kind of thing. Yeah. So one of the things that you don't do around a buffing wheel, whenever you have it running, is you don't stand in front of a fan. Do you know why you don't stand in front of a fan? It's so that whenever your shirt blows out in front of you, like the robe on a pretty princess, and then it catches into that whirling little toothy thing. Those grinders, they don't just stop, especially whenever you're dumb enough to keep your finger on the trigger. They will crawl up your shirt, and then you'll have this toothy, just wanting to eat your face kind of monstrosity doing this.
Yeah.
And hopefully you have some sort of shield on your head.
And hopefully it didn't climb up your chest.
Yes. That's what it did with me. I was standing in front of a fan. It was a Texas summer. And then my dad was like, "Hey, don't." And it was too late. It caught my shirt and it crawled up my face. And it was like this metal thing. Desperately wanted to tear half of my face off. My dad, to his credit, he didn't go all boo-hoo. He didn't go, "Oh no, oh what happened? Are you okay?" He fell on the ground laughing. And then he spilled half of his beer and he got really pissed off about that. So he drank another beer. And then he saw me still there with this thing trying to eat my face and he burst into laughter again.
At some point, he pulled the plug on the grinder, right?
Nope, I had to do that by falling over. I couldn't keep my balance and I fell away from the wall and he eventually stopped trying to eat my face.
Yeah.
Whenever it pulled out of the wall. And then what did he do after that? You're never going to do that again, will you? That's true. I could have been warned.
We need more of that these days. That's what we need. We need a lot more of that. You ain't gonna do that stupid shit again, are you?
And that's the one thing I can't really say nowadays. I've been out of the military for a while, but that was
And you're old as
one
shit.
of the really, but younger than you.
That's a relative term.
But back, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, all that, there were lessons to be learned in the military. And the military was very good at, if you're dumb, you're going to learn. And usually it's going to be painful, but you're going to learn. And so the military did a very good job. I wouldn't even really say it was a military thing. It was just leadership style and things like that.
It was the men leading the younger generation. It was the father figures that they got in the military that they probably didn't have at home.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and when I was in, we still had wall-to-wall counseling that was used very frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And people learn things. But then you'd also have, when the dudes are just sitting around doing dude things, lessons are being learned. Usually there was a lot. Like, we had this bright idea in the barracks. I don't remember if it was my idea or somebody else's idea. Maybe I added to it.
Probably your idea.
I played it. I'm not going to say it wasn't my idea. I don't remember. But
plead the fifth.
we had our helmets, and then we had a bunch of newer people that just came to our unit. So this was before our deployment. And we had new people that showed up to the unit, and the idea was had in the hallway of the barracks, which our barracks were the older style barracks, where you had multiple people to a room. There was no kitchen. There was no nothing in the barracks. Nobody had their own kitchen or their own space. There was just a single room that was occupied by 2, in some cases 3 different people. And then you had community showers, bathrooms, stuff like that. And then just a long hallway. And so we had the bright idea of getting the new guys and having them stand like bowling pins, then taking our helmets, then we went bowling with privates is what we called it. Mind you, I'm still a private at this point too, so it's not like, hey, look at me, I outrank. No, I'm you. I just have been here longer than you, so I went.
I'm just you again.
Yeah. And I might be less than you after this. So one guy would take their helmet, and then they would go bowling, and you would throw it as hard as you could at the bowling pins, the privates, and see how many you could knock down.
They were wearing their plate carriers, right?
No.
Oh, so you did it different then.
Heavily. Yeah. No, this was just dudes standing there with nothing, arms down at their side, and then a guy throwing a Kevlar helmet at them as hard as they possibly can.
Tracks.
Sometimes, because we may have had a few adult beverages, it might bounce off the hallway, the center block hallway wall, and then curve in.
Yeah.
And you would do that until you knock down as many people as you could, and then stand back up, next guy. That game didn't last that long because in the chain of command found out about it. Because believe it or not, people were getting injured. Surprised me.
What?
Yeah. And
Wussies.
we had
Your injury is not service connected.
our medic anyways stayed in the barracks with us. He wasn't married or anything, and so it was very commonplace to see him getting good practice in the barracks because of some silly things we were doing. But he was also there for morning moral support when you may have had too many adult beverages the night before and you wanted to get an IV to start the day off before PT. So you would just go knock on his door, you would tape a bag to your head, stick you would go do the 3 S's, and then run down to PT. And if it was a really good morning, you had 2 bags. Yeah.
Fair enough. Doc's always there for you.
Yes.
He always will be.
Yep.
Just don't piss him off.
No.
That's it's just like chow hole.
Uh-huh.
But you don't piss them off. Supply, you don't want to piss off supply because those dudes can hook you up. Medics don't want to piss them off. In the law enforcement,
It's almost like it's everybody but the grunts you don't want to piss off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grunts, you just shit on them. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't find it out.
It's almost like that's the reason why they have a problem with the rest of us.
Maybe.
Oh, I'm a pog, huh? All right. Have fun fueling your own vehicles.
Yeah. But we were always very kind. Anytime we rolled into a fob and we needed to refit, very kind. Yeah. We knew our place. We're just dumb grunts here. We're the hammers. So
Somebody's got to swing the hammer too.
Yeah.
That's my viewpoint on it. Is the rest of the crap you can't get anything done. You can't get the hammer to the war without the rest of the units. But
100%.
the rest of the units aren't going to swing themselves at the wall either. You need the hammer.
Yeah. And you're 100% right. You can have infantry all day long, but if they don't have the logistics and the support and the chow and the beans and the bullets and everything that they need, not going to be effective.
Yeah.
And you're not going to win a war if you don't have the infantry. So even though it is fun to give each other shit, bows and grunts and all this, at the end of the day, can't have one without the other.
Yep. It's that yin and yang of the military. Make fun of each other all day long. We understand that we can't operate without the other one.
Yep.
We wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for the grunts, because we wouldn't need to do all that. And the grunts wouldn't be able to do their job if it wasn't for us. So
it's just like, you give Air Force personnel crap for being in the chair force.
But I can't fly a plane at 374 miles an hour at an idle.
Yeah, exactly. If you want things flown in, you need the Air Force. If you want CAS, got bad things going on and you need to get rid of people, you want CAS to come in, you need them. So,
I want the Air Force to show up and eat the spicy Red Bull cans at the people I point the laser at. So,
oh yeah,
hear that thing go. Brrr.
Yeah, back when I was at Fort Lewis in Washington State, right next door we had McCord Air Force Base, and at that point in time, Lewis and McCord, which now I think it's Joint Base something, I don't know. But anyways,
Whatever they changed the name to this week.
Yeah, they were both separate stations. And me and a few other guys, for whatever reason, had this brilliant idea of going on to McCord Air Force Base and seeing what their chow hall was all about. Can we even get in there? We don't know. But we rolled over there, and the Air Force was very kind. Oh, welcome to McCord. Let us through the gates. We asked where the chow hall is. We find it. Walk right into the chow hall. No questions. And we were amazed at this facility. Amazed. It blew our Army brains. There's no way this is real. People don't eat like this. This can't be happening.
For those that don't know, it's like the difference between walking into Golden Corral on a Saturday night after the food is gone. That's an Army installation. And then walking into Texas Roadhouse. That's an Air Force installation.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And we were used to, you can either have, in the Army, you can either have really dry roast beef, or you could have really dry chicken. Can't have both.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, can we have this? Oh, okay. Do you want this too? Yes. You want that?
Please, sir, may I have some more?
It was everything. Yeah. And they were just freely giving us piles of food. What the hell's going on here? And so we get out of that line and we set our food down at the table and we go to get drinks or whatever it was. And they're like, oh, you guys want some ice cream? What? Yes. Yes, we want ice cream. And so then we get ice cream.
There's a snack bar?
All this stuff. Yeah. It was very confusing. We thought for sure we were going to be executed. They're setting us up. This is what's going on.
This was your steak and shrimp before deployment.
Right. Yeah. we get done eating all this, and then we go to pick up the trays, and somebody's like, oh, no, you just leave the trays there. We pick it up. We're like,
what?
They're like, you guys want some sandwiches before you leave? What do you mean?
Yeah.
They told us, oh, if you want some sandwiches to go or a bag of chips to go or whatever, you can get that to go. Yes. Yeah. We'll take a sandwich. Do you want 2 or 3 sandwiches? Yeah, we'll take 2 or 3. That's great. Yes. Very much. Thank you. And so then we got all that and we went back to Lewis. And from that point on, we're not going to the Army chow hall. This is not happening. We're not doing this anymore. We would drive over to McCord. We'd play that game. We called it shopping in the chow hall. We'd go get our little tummies full and then just get sandwiches for the weekend, especially on the weekends. Because
oh, yeah.
you know, you don't make a whole lot of money, and then the money that you do make went to other activities.
The adult beverages and the like. Still that way. Now it's just because of bills.
Finding the future current ex-wife. Yeah.
And so we would get all the food for the weekend that we needed, just shopping in the chow hall. You know, we need this, we need this, bag, chips. It was fantastic up until the point that it wasn't anymore, and they're like, "Yeah, you guys can't go to McCord anymore. You guys," because then it went
too much of a good thing, went too far.
Us always wanting more. Like then we're like, "Oh well, maybe we'll go talk to these girls over here, or maybe we'll go by this barracks over here." That we don't know anyone, but we're going to go knock on doors and see what's going on. And then army dudes being army dudes that screwed everything.
Yeah. So you were the bad apples that ruined the bunch.
Absolutely.
Yes. Or in this case, ruined the lunch.
We did the same thing over at Pope Air Force Base right outside of Bragg. Good food. You had good food, good service, and the staff had all of their teeth and didn't look like they just got done winning a knife fight.
We're losing.
We're losing a knife fight, yeah.
I'll tell you this much, though. Here's an interesting one. You ever been on a Marine base? Stateside?
Over at at Meridian? Yeah, at Meridian.
That was a naval
training. It was what?
Naval.
Gable?
Naval. Navy.
Oh, naval. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. I lived right down the street. The department I worked for was in Stafford. So I lived right down the street from Quantico. Their chow hall, and I know this isn't a normal Marine chow hall. Okay. This is the headquarters. It's going to be nicer. Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. But their headquarters was nicer than the chow halls on basic training installations for the Army.
I believe.
Yeah. I would.
It almost rivaled the Air Force One in Kirkland in New Mexico. It was like, what are the Marines bitching about? And then I went to another one. And I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. That's the North Korean chow hall
front store.
You can actually eat, but it's all for show.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, they're all like this. No. If you go behind the wooden wall, you realize it's not like that. But I did go to Quantico.
The fruits are wax.
Yeah.
I went to that chow hall in Quantico. And I went to Quantico not when I was in the military, but it was a DEA thing that I was doing at the time there. And that was a really nice chow hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the department I dealt with pretty regularly.
I didn't almost blow up Quantico. I almost killed a lot of people because of something. We were making meth, is what we were doing. Like,
you were making a mess?
Yeah. Well, let me back up. I should explain more. I was in narcotics.
Okay.
EA school, and we made meth. It was the legal way.
You and I will not make garbage.
And very high quality.
We will produce a chemically pure and stable product that performs as advertised.
Lab meth with dudes that have degrees for days, like Breaking Bad style meth. And
the only way this could have been any better is if this would have happened in New Mexico instead of DC.
True. Yeah. And we were using, which is very dangerous, extremely dangerous. And the cook pulled me out and wanted me to assist him. And to be fair, this was a pretty chill dude, and he was enjoying some of the shenanigans that we brought to the class. Because there were dudes there that were very serious. You know, we're here representing our agency, we're doing DEA stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then there was us from Louisiana. We're like, hey, do you guys have possums we can eat? And so he was enjoying our
Who let the rednecks in?
Yeah.
Yeah, more or less. And so he pulled me
Are you
out
sure you guys are cops?
Why do I feel like I'm being punked?
Yeah.
He wanted me to control that. I was going to turn it off when he told me to turn it off. And it's in this little vat that's got vents that's pulling it out. So the concern may have been there, but maybe not really realistic. And even if things went horribly bad, none of us would have known about it anyways. We'd have just woke up somewhere. And, either up there or down there. And
it'd have been really cold or really warm.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as a joke, not really as a joke, I was serious. He kind of took it as a joke. But I was like, you're going to give me a safe word and then I'm going to turn it off. And he was like, oh, okay. And he said something like, oh, banana. I was like, no. Then he said several words and I kept turning them down. And then eventually I settled on like banana hammock or whatever it was. I have no idea.
I think he said kumquat one time.
Yeah, who knows? I don't remember. This was a while ago. And so it was time to turn off the yeah, go and turn it off. And I'm still just and he's trying to remember the safe word. Strawberry. And he's just saying words. So eventually he says it and I turned it off. And the panic left his face. Like everybody that was watching us was like trying to hold their breath. That was the last time he asked me to help him cook meth.
Did you learn nothing from my chemistry class?
No. You flunked me.
I'm not too sure why. I thought I did a very good job. The initial instructions were very clear. We're going to have a safe word for this. Because I didn't want him panicking and telling me to turn it off before he's ready. And so...
I'm thinking it's possibly you made him look bad by not looking as professional as you did. You know?
Yeah, you're right.
He wasn't as free-spirited as you.
The oldest profession uses safe words.
Yeah.
So if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for us.
Exactly.
What, crooks?
And they probably use the same safe word. Kumquat.
Come on.
Yeah.
On what?
So that was my first and last time there at Quantico. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but that's the last time I was there.
It might have a little bit to do with it. It's just a little bit. Could also be that you went to the chow hall afterwards.
This is true. Yeah. And I went right back into thieving mode. I'm shoving sandwiches in my pocket and fistfuls of ice cream down my shirt. So
I mean, once an E4, always an E4, man. That's definitely a Baker story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a few of them.
Well, on the heels of that, I got to go. I got stuff I got to do.
Yeah. I was about to close it out anyway, so thank you guys very much. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Before we take off, where can they find you guys at?
Cindy?
IntuitiveDefense.com on the internets and on YouTube at Intuitive Defense.
So original.
Although we do have that other channel that we will be spinning up soon that'll post new, which will be Range Game.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'll put Charles' website and YouTube in the mention, the description, and a link to the game there as well. Thank you guys again. Everybody else out there, go drop by, see their channel, give them a like, a follow, comment. If you like what they said and did here, let me know.
Yeah.
Let us know if you liked it or didn't like it. And thank you.
If anybody that I served with the military happens to see this and you're still upset that I tased you, so I'm not sorry.
Suck it.